Two women started the same job on the same Monday in 2006. Same title, same desk row, same $60,000 salary. Maya and Camille got the same raises in the same years. Neither one inherited money. Neither one married rich. Neither one started a business. It is August 2026, and both of them just turned 45. Maya stopped working 4 months ago with $714,000. Camille has $270,000 and 20 more years of work ahead of her. Their lifetime earnings differ by less than $4,000. Same salary, same raises, same 401k plan, same index funds, same market. The entire gap comes down to a single line in a monthly budget, $1,120. That is it. That is the whole story. $37 a day decided whether these two women retire at 45 or 65. And here is the part almost nobody explains properly on this topic. That $1,120 did not only build Maya's pile faster, it also shrank the pile Maya needed in the first place. The finish line moved toward her while she was running at it. Camille's finish line moved away from her at exactly the same speed. Let's keep this fair and let's run both sets of numbers. Almost every retirement video you have watched is built on the wrong variable. They show you a compounding chart. They tell you to start early and earn more. That advice is not wrong. It is just badly incomplete. Your retirement date is not set by your income. It is set by the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Economists call that gap your savings rate. Most people never calculate it once. The Bureau of Economic Analysis put the American personal saving rate near 4.9% in 2025. Vanguard's How America Saves 2025 report found the average employee deferral was 7.6%. Add the employer match and the combined rate reached 12.1%. That is an all-time high. 12.1% is roughly the American ceiling. Now hold that number against the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances. Median family retirement savings sit at about $87,000. For households aged 55 to 64, the median is $185,000. 54% of American households report no dedicated retirement savings at all. Those numbers belong together because one produces the other. A 12% savings rate mathematically produces a 45-year career. That is not an opinion or a motivational line. That is arithmetic. You are not behind because you picked the wrong funds. You are behind because nobody ever handed you the table. There is a table that converts your savings rate directly into your retirement date. It fits on a napkin, and it has been public since 2012. Once you see your own number on it, you cannot unsee it. Here's what the data shows. Let's build both women properly, because the details are the entire argument. In 2006, Maya and Camille were both 25 years old. Both took jobs at the same mid-size logistics company outside Columbus, Ohio. Both signed offer letters for $60,000 a year. After federal tax, state tax, and payroll tax, each cleared about $48,000. $4,000 a month landed in each of their checking accounts. Same number, same day, same bank, same direct deposit. Both had the same 401k plan with 50% match on the first 6%. Both had access to the same index funds with the same expense ratios. Neither of them timed the market. Neither of them picked a single stock. Both earned the same 5% average real return after inflation. Both got the same 3% annual raises for 20 straight years. Those raises roughly matched inflation, so in today's dollars their pay never moved. I am holding income and investing perfectly identical on purpose. This story is not about returns and it is not about salary. Here is the only variable that actually differed between them. Camille saved 17% of her take-home pay. That is $8,160 a year, $680 a month, automatically every single month. By American standards, Camille was doing well. She was above average. She was beating the 12.1% combined national contribution rate. Her friends would have called her responsible, and they would have been right. Camille spent the other $39,840 a year. That is $3,320 a month of lifestyle. Maya saved 45% of her take-home pay instead. That is $21,600 a year. $1,800 a month automatically every single month. Maya spent $26,400 a year. That is $2,200 a month of lifestyle. Now look at the difference between those two spending numbers. Camille spent $3,320 a month. Maya spent $2,200 a month. The gap between them is $1,120 a month. That is the entire experiment, compressed into one number. Most people hear 45% and immediately picture extreme deprivation. It was not deprivation. Maya rented a smaller apartment for 11 years. She drove a used Corolla she bought for $9,000 in cash. She kept that same car for 14 years and sold it for $1,800. Camille financed a new SUV every 5 years at about $490 a month. Across 20 years, that one habit consumed roughly $117,000 of Camille's take-home pay. Maya's total car spending over the same 20 years was under $22,000. Camille's apartment cost $400 more per month than Maya's for 11 years. That is $52,800 gone before either woman turned 37. Neither woman lived like a monk. Neither woman lived like a millionaire. They simply made different default decisions about housing and transportation. Housing and cars are where the $1,120 actually lives, not in coffee. Not in avocado toast, not in a streaming subscription. The Daily Latte Lecture is a distraction from the two decisions that matter. Now here is where the arithmetic starts to get genuinely strange. Because that same $1,120 is doing two completely separate jobs. Job one is obvious. It flows into Maya's brokerage account and compounds. Job two is invisible. And it is by far the more powerful of the two. Every dollar Maya does not spend is a dollar she never has to replace. Camille spends $39,840 a year. So Camille's portfolio must eventually generate $39,840 a year forever. At a 4% withdrawal rate, that requires $996,000. Maya spends $26,400 a year. At a safer 3.75% withdrawal rate, Maya needs $704,000. Stop and look at those two finish lines side by side. Camille needs $292,000 more than Maya needs. And she is saving $13,440 a year less to get there. Bigger target, smaller shovel, same salary. That is not a small disadvantage, that is a compounding trap. Camille is running a longer race with a shorter stride. Almost nobody notices this because nobody ever tells them the finish line moves. It moves. It moves every single time your monthly spending changes. So let's run both timelines and see exactly where each woman lands. In 2012, a Colorado engineer published a table that ruined a lot of assumptions. It assumed a 5% real return and a 4% withdrawal rate. Then it converted one input, your savings rate, into one output, your years to freedom. Save 10% of your take-home pay and you work 51 years. Save 25% and you work 32 years. Save 50% and you work about 17 years. Save 65% and you work roughly 10 and a half years. Save 75% and you are finished in 7 years. Notice what is completely missing from that table. Your salary is not in it. Your job title is not in it. Your zip code, your degree, and your industry are not in it. The table does not care whether you earn $40,000 or $400,000. It only cares what percentage of your take-home pay you refuse to spend. That is why a nurse making $62,000 can retire before a surgeon making $400,000. The surgeon usually has a surgeon-sized life attached to that surgeon-sized income. Run the numbers on your own paycheck before you assume you are the exception. Here is the mechanism that makes that table so violent. Cut $100 a month out of your spending permanently. That is $1,200 a year that now flows into investments. Fine. That part everybody already understands and expects. But you also just cut $1,200 a year off your required income. At a 4% withdrawal rate, $1,200 a year requires $30,000 of capital. So $100 a month erased $30,000 from your finish line. You did not invest anything yet. You did not earn a single return. You simply moved the target $30,000 closer and kept it there. Now do that 11 times, which is what Maya did. $1,120 a month is $13,440 a year. That amount of annual spending requires $336,000 of capital to fund. Maya deleted $336,000 of future obligation on day one. Then she also invested that same $13,440 every year for 20 years. Two effects, one decision, working in the same direction the entire time. This is the mechanism competitors leave out when they show you the compounding curve. The curve is only half the picture. The moving finish line is the other half. Spending is the only number in personal finance that hits you twice. Maya invests $21,600 a year, starting at 25. 5% real return, reinvested, no withdrawals, no market timing. After 5 years, she has $119,300. After 10 years, she has $271,600. After 15 years, she has $466,200. After 20 years, she has $714,200. Her target was $704,000. In March of 2026, at age 45, Maya crossed her own finish line. Her portfolio now has to produce $26,400 a year. $714,000 at 3.75% produces $26,775. She has a small cushion, and she built it on a $60,000 salary. Notice she never earned six figures, not once in 20 years. Camille invests $8,160 a year, starting at 25, same 5% real return. Same funds, same discipline about never selling. After 10 years, she has $102,600. After 20 years, she has $269,800. That is where she is standing today in August 2026 at 45. Maya has $714,000. Camille has $269,000. Camille is exactly halfway through her career and 27% of the way to her number. 20 more years of compounding turns her balance into $715,900. 20 more years of contributions add another $269,800. At age 65, she lands at $985,700. Her target was $996,000, so she is close enough with Social Security. Camille will retire with $271,000 more than Maya had. She will also have spent 20 additional years of her life earning it. That is roughly 5,200 additional Mondays. Ask yourself, which of those two women actually got the better deal? Most people watching this cannot jump from 17% to 45% tomorrow. So let's stop pretending that is the only available move. Take Camille at 25 and give her one small change. She saves $200 a month more, so $880 total. Her savings rate rises from 17% to 22%. Her annual spending drops to $37,440. Her target drops from $996,000 to $936,000. She now reaches that smaller target in about 35 years instead of 40. $200 a month bought her 5 entire years of life. Now give her $400 a month instead. Savings rate 27%, spending $35,040 a year. Target $876,000, reached in about 30 years. She retires at 55 instead of 65. 10 years for $400 a month. Give her $600 a month and she is done at 52. Give her the full 1120 and she is Maya, finished at 45. Look at the shape of that ladder carefully. The first $200 a month buys 5 years. The next 200 buys another 5 years. The returns are not diminishing. They are accelerating because the finish line keeps sliding toward you. Every reduction you make gets amplified by the double lever we just covered. This is the most undertaught idea in personal finance, and it costs people decades. Both women had a 50% match on the first 6% of pay. On a $60,000 salary, 6% is $3,600. The match adds $1,800 a year at zero cost. Over 20 years at 5%, that match alone becomes $59,500. Over 40 years, it becomes $217,400. Nobody worked an extra hour for that money. It is a payroll setting. Vanguard reports that plan participation has climbed to 86%. That still leaves 14% of eligible workers contributing nothing at all. Here is the quieter problem inside the good news. 62% of plans now default new. Hires at 4% or higher. 4% sounds responsible until you notice the match threshold is usually 6. Automatic enrollment saved millions of people, then parked them 2 points below the free money. Most people never touch that default number again for their entire career. Log into your plan and check whether your deferral clears your match threshold. That single afternoon is worth more than any stock pick you will make this decade. Let's keep this fair, because Maya's plan carries a real risk, Camille's does not. The 4% rule comes from the Trinity study and William Bengen's 1994 research. The 50-50 portfolio survived 30-year retirements in about 95% of historical periods, 30 years. That is the number the rule was actually tested on. Camille retires at 65 and needs roughly 30 years of money. The rule fits her situation almost exactly as designed. Maya retired at 45 and may need 45 or 50 years of money. Michael Kitces has shown that the first decade of returns dominates the outcome. A bad first 10 years can permanently break a portfolio that a good decade would have doubled. Researchers now suggest 3.5% for 35-year horizons. For 40 to 50-year horizons, many suggest 3.0 to 3.3%. At 3.5%, Maya's number is $754,000. That is $40,000 beyond what she actually has today. One additional year of saving closes that gap completely. So the honest version of this story includes an asterisk. Maya may work until 46, not 45, if she wants a wider margin. She also holds 2 years of cash to avoid selling into a crash. That cash buffer is not optional at her age. It is the whole defense. Retiring 20 years early does not remove risk. It changes which risk you carry. Here's the part almost every early retirement video skips entirely. Maya is 45. Penalty-free retirement account access starts at 59 and a half. That is 14 and a half years of money she cannot simply withdraw. The rule of 55 does not help her because it requires leaving a job at 55 or later. So she needs a bridge, and she had to build it years in advance. Maya's $714,000 is deliberately split across 3 buckets. About $430,000 sits in her traditional 401k and rollover IRA. About $104,000 sits in Roth accounts. About $180,000 sits in a plain taxable brokerage account. That taxable account is the bridge, and it funds the first several years directly. $26,400 a year draws it down slowly. Meanwhile, she runs a Roth conversion ladder in the background. Each year, she converts a slice of traditional money into her Roth IRA. She pays ordinary income tax on that slice at a very low bracket. Then each converted amount must season for 5 years before she can touch it penalty-free. Convert at 45, spend it at 50. Convert at 46, spend it at 51. The latter only works if you start it 5 years before you need it. The alternative is a 72T, substantially equal periodic payment plan. That option unlocks money at any age, but it locks you in until 59 and a half. Modify the payments once, and the IRS recaptures every penalty plus interest. For a 45-year-old, that is a 14-year handcuff on a fixed number. Most early retirees choose the latter for flexibility and keep 72T as an emergency lever. There is one more line item Camille never has to think about. Camille turns 65 and walks straight onto Medicare. Maya has to buy health insurance on the open market for 20 years. Her low taxable income does put her in the range where marketplace premium credits are largest. Congress has rewritten those subsidy rules repeatedly, so check the current year before you plan around them. This is why low spending is not only about needing less capital. It quietly determines your tax bracket, your subsidy eligibility, and your conversion room. Run the numbers on the bridge years before you run them on the finish line. Camille is not lazy, and she is not financially illiterate. She did almost everything the mainstream advice told her to do. She contributed to her 401k from her very first paycheck at 25. She never carried a credit card balance for more than 2 months. She bought index funds and she never panic sold, not even in 2008 or 2020. She built a 6-month emergency fund and she rebuilt it twice. On any normal scorecard, Camille is the responsible friend. The problem is that every single one of those wins is a defensive win. None of them change the one offensive number that sets the date. Here's what nobody tells you about the standard advice. It is optimized to keep you out of disaster, not to buy back your time. Avoiding credit card debt protects you. It does not accelerate you. Now look at the 3 misconceptions that quietly cost Camille 20 years. The first misconception is that you need a high income to retire early. The table proves otherwise. Income is not an input to the formula at all. 2 people at $400,000 can have wildly different retirement dates. The only thing that separates them is what percentage they refuse to spend. The second misconception is that you need $1 million. There is no universal number. Your number is your own annual spending times 25. Maya's number was $704,000. Because she lives on $26,400, someone spending $16,000 a year needs $400,000. Someone spending $80,000 a year needs $2 million. The $1 million figure is a headline, not a calculation. The third misconception is that a 45% savings rate means misery. Maya spent $2,200 a month for 20 years. That is a real apartment, real food, real travel, and real weekends. It is simply not a new SUV every 5 years and a bigger place every lease. Hedonic adaptation is the reason this works better than people expect. Researchers have documented for decades that we adjust to new spending levels within months. The new car feels extraordinary for about 90 days and then becomes the baseline. Camille bought 4 new SUVs across 20 years chasing that same 90 days. Each one cost her roughly $29,000 in payments. Each one delivered about 3 months of elevated satisfaction before normalizing. Maya's Corolla delivered 3 months of satisfaction too, for $9,000 once. The pleasure was nearly identical. The price differed by more than $100,000. That is not deprivation. That is noticing where the adaptation curve flattens. Most people believe their spending reflects their preferences. Very often it just reflects their defaults, their lease cycle, and their neighbors. Camille never once sat down and chose a 20-year longer career. She chose a car payment, and the career length arrived attached to it. Now here is the fact that almost no one on this topic surfaces. Camille got a real promotion this year, at 45, right on schedule. Her salary moved from $60,000 to $75,000. Her take-home rose from $48,000 to about $60,000 a year. That is a real $1,000 raise every single month after tax. This is supposed to be the moment her retirement date jumps closer. Watch what actually happens when she keeps saving the same $680. Her spending rises from $39,840 to $51,840. Her required nest egg rises from $996,000 to $1,296,000. Her contributions did not change, only her finish line changed. From her current $270,000, that target now takes about 25 more years. Camille's retirement date just moved from 65 to roughly 70. She got a raise, and the raise cost her 5 years of her life. Read that again, because it inverts everything you were taught about income. Here's what nobody tells you about raises. A raise you spend does not move your retirement closer, it moves it further away. That is the counterintuitive engine underneath this entire comparison. Income is not neutral. Income that converts into lifestyle is actively hostile to your timeline. Now run the same raise the other direction. Camille banks the entire $1,000 a month and her spending stays flat. Her annual savings jump from $8,160 to $20,160. Her target stays exactly where it was, at $996,000. She reaches it in about 15 years instead of 20. She retires at 60, not 65, and not 70. The same promotion is worth a 10-year swing in either direction. 10 years of her life hinged on one decision made in one afternoon, not on the raise itself. On what she did with it the following month. This is why the highest earners you know are so often the most trapped. Their income rose, so their required nest egg rose with it permanently. They are running toward a finish line that sprints away every time they get promoted. Maya's finish line has not moved in 20 years because her spending has not moved. So if you take one number away from this entire breakdown, take this one. Your savings rate is the only variable that touches both sides of the equation. Everything else only touches one side, and one side is never enough. Let's put this back in your hands because the arithmetic is not the hard part. Open your last 3 months of bank statements tonight. Add up every dollar that left and divide it by every dollar that arrived. Whatever percentage you did not spend, that is your real savings rate. Not the number in your 401k portal, the number your whole life actually produces. Then find that percentage on the table and read the years next to it. That number is your current retirement date, and it is honest with you. If you do not like the answer, you now know exactly which lever moves it. Not a hotter fund, not a side hustle you will abandon in March. The gap between what arrives and what leaves. Start with housing and transportation, because that is where $1,120 hides. Everything else is noise dressed up as discipline. Camille was never irresponsible. She was measuring the wrong number for 20 years. Most people are, and nobody ever told them there was a different one. If this changed how you look at your own paycheck, subscribe to Maya Wealth and hit the notification bell. We break down the hidden math behind the financial decisions you face every day. No hustle culture, no shame, no sales pitch at the end. Make the decision that matches your reality, not someone else's marketing. Your retirement date is not hiding in your paycheck. It is hiding in the gap you never measured.